Hi, my name is Julia von Klonowski and I am Director of Digital at Career Colleges. And I have with me at this beautiful head office, so it's the British, I'm going to make sure I get it right, it's the British Tennis Head Office of the Lawn Tennis Association. And I have with me Lauren Best, who is the Head of PR, Content and Social Media at the Lawn Tennis Association. Thank you, Lauren, for being here. And I've got Bhushita Jolly, who is a student, a career college student at Barking and Dagenham College and is studying
Level 3 IT.
Level 3 IT. So she's actually in her second year of studying that. Am I right?
First year. Yeah.
Okay, so in her first year, but very mature for somebody who's in her first year of studying that. The reason we're here is because Bhushita's here now for a couple of days doing some work experience, which has very kindly been offered by the Lawn Tennis Association. So one of the things I'm interested in, Bhushita, is because you're here. Yes. So tell me how this happened. How did this actually come about?
So it all began as part of the Amazon Comic Relief project, which took place a couple of weeks ago, and the first ever meeting we had at the Amazon headquarters in central London, and there was a particular person called Ellen from Comic Relief who introduced me to the world of digital marketing by showing all the different work that Comic Relief does with all these celebrities and influencers and
Some
stuff.
Fascinating videos as well, weren't they?
They were really, really good, and that's really, that's why it's like, there was a particular one, it was a rap video, I can't remember the name of the artist, but that really struck me, of how just one person that that's on YouTube can influence so many people to do little things, and it all adds up to something amazing. So for that is being part of Comic Relief, helping, giving to charity. So I thought that was really important, and I thought making a difference with technology and digital marketing would be the great way for me to go ahead, and it really interests me. That's why I'm here.
So had you thought about digital marketing before?
I actually didn't really know exactly what digital marketing was till before that actually happened. So I knew it was something to do with social media, but its impact and what, all the work that goes into it, I really wasn't aware.
So one of the aspects of the project that we ran was for you, all the students, to discover what digital marketing was, because as we know, there's not much point in having a brilliant idea if it's in an empty room. So no point sitting in your bedroom with a brilliant idea. So it's really great that you picked that up. Lauren, you're also here, so how did you get to be here, and how did you get to offer Bhushita this opportunity?
So Bhushita actually approached me at the event that we were at Amazon's head office.
You were a judge, is that right?
I was a judge, I was a judge on the panel, which was so inspiring to see these young people and the ideas that they came up with. In fact, I was so inspired, I would have hired most of them today. But what I was really proud about with Bhushita is that she actually approached me and said, I would love, I've heard a bit about what company you work for and what you do, and I would love to spend a couple of days doing some work experience. And I said to her, of course, here's my card, take my details, do get in contact. And you'd be surprised to know how many people don't then follow it up, and yet there's an opportunity there. But you kind of emailed me the next day, and we kind of threw some dates around, and luckily we're able to get some dates in pretty soon actually. Probably started corresponding about a week ago, 10 days ago, for you to come in for a couple of days just to experience what a job in a marketing department looks like, and get an experience of the many different things that we do here. And I think one of the first things, because when you first walked in today and I showed you all the different departments, I didn't realise, within a business you have, a finance department, HR, legal, major events, high performance, marketing. It all sits within one business. So I think that's been a really good thing.
That's one of the things with career colleges. We're trying so hard, particularly for women and for young girls, to understand that technology isn't just about coding, but that there are so many different roles and jobs. And unfortunately, that message tends not to get out, which is why this kind of experience is so important. And I guess what you've learned, which is the thing I keep banging on about, is if you don't ask, you don't get. But you have to ask in the right way. So that's really great. So tell me what you've done today then.
Okay, so we had a really long, nice, busy day. So obviously when I first walked in, I got introduced, Lauren obviously introduced the whole different departments and the whole organisation itself. Then I've had a few one-to-one with different people. So I think there was one from social media and one from PR as well. And they've obviously spoken about their role, what they do, about what they, everyday kind of day-to-day job things that they do. Explain a little bit about their particular role as well as in the whole company. Then we went to Queen's,
Queen's Club?
The Queen's Club.
Which is beautiful.
Which is very nice, yes, it was really, really nice. And there was a meeting that between a sponsor and the LTA Association. Just made some notes on that, just how different people interact within a business, trying to work together. Then we had lunch, and now we're here. Yeah.
So
Great.
you've kind of discovered how important people skills
Yes.
are in all of this. So your qualifications are obviously important, but all those other skills that you
Yes.
need to learn around it are, and the kind of things you did with the Comic Relief Project and the Amazon Project, actually really important. So what you've seen today has not put you off; it's made you even more interested. Am I right?
Definitely. I'm really keen to work in like a place like this where, you know, it's like different things going on, all these different people. So I think that's really nice.
So you're in year one, which means
Yes.
you've got next year.
Yeah.
It's obviously your last year of that particular study.
Yes.
So now that you've been here and experienced this and experienced the project you went on,
Yeah.
what's your next step after that? Have you thought that through?
I'm still, because obviously I've had like different things introduced to myself today. So there's social media, there's PR, and there's more that I'm going to look into tomorrow as well. So I think I'm just making my mind up, as in like, you know, exploring a little bit more just before I make final decision. Going, yes, like this is it.
Do you go off to university, or do you get a job and get
I'm
and do
hoping
an apprenticeship, or?
Yeah, I'm either looking university or apprenticeship. These two, not a job immediately, but one like obviously getting a little bit more qualification just so you can be in like a right state to get the best kind of job. Yeah.
No, fantastic, really fantastic. So if you were to look back, let's go back to December before you started the project.
Yes.
So you've been on quite a journey and an experience which I've been part of with you, where you experienced some real difficulties which you overcame at Barking and Dagenham, which is why not at Barking and Dagenham was the difficulties, but things that happened to you.
Yeah.
So what do you think what is the thing you've learnt that you need to do, and what's the best part of what you've experienced, do you think?
Right. So what I've learnt so far is obviously the fact that networking, and obviously, you know, that's obviously key. You can't, like you said, you don't get anything unless you ask for it. And obviously I think timing is very important. There's no point just asking for it and, you know, just letting go. So obviously if I approached you, I wouldn't just, you know, that's it, I've asked and that's it. Obviously, you know, keep up with it, make sure you keep, you know, just keep, you know, on with it. And then feel that's really important, I've learned, you know, And one thing that obviously I feel like has helped me since like December, I'm a different person in the sense. I feel like I'm a little bit more confident, obviously because of that pitch, and obviously, you know, speaking to, even today, like I'm not usually like one of those people that just, you know, just talk to anyone like that. So I was like, I feel like my confidence obviously boosted up a lot from the whole project, you know, from doing the pitch in front of loads of people. So I feel like that's really, really helped me. Yeah.
Well, I can see it. So I can see a big difference. And one of the interesting comments that everybody who was at the judge on the day said, that they would have employed virtually everybody who was there from the people that spoke. And yet if you'd have met them 10 weeks or 12 weeks ago, you probably wouldn't have. So that's how little time it actually takes to do that. Lauren, what I'm interested in as well is because this was a really wonderful thing to do for a young person, but I know that the LTA does quite a lot, you know, so you've got tennis for kids and those kinds of things. So it's obviously... it's part of your agenda, isn't it?
Yeah,
particularly with young women as well.
Definitely. So we obviously have a women and girls strategy that we're working on with Sport England. But obviously mentoring is something that as a business we have worked on, I suppose from the other side, from actually getting people within this business to be mentees for other people. We've worked particularly with companies like Rico historically on other projects, but definitely kind of allowing young people the opportunity to experience business and understand a little bit more about what goes into it is a personal passion of mine, and definitely a journey I want to take the LTA on. And I think, you know, even the conversation we've had today is when you come into a business, you then realise all the different types of jobs there are. And people. And I think that you don't necessarily, when you're starting off like you are with your kind of where you want to go with your career, sometimes you think, oh, if I'm not in this bubble, or I'm not in this bubble, then what other else is there? And when you come into an organisation like this, and we have, 20 plus people in a marketing department, there is many elements to, even digital marketing. We have a head of digital, but within that, we've got someone who looks after the website, we've got someone who looks after our CRM system, we've got, all the different people within that. And then within my team, you've got content and social media and photography and video and PR. And that's just 2 areas of a marketing department. So I think it's nice for people to be able to come in and give them a bit more steer about what might be a passion for them, and actually give them the confidence to take that forward.
And for businesses, I guess, because there's such a skill shortage, people find it so difficult, companies find it so difficult to find the right people.
Yeah.
This kind of opportunity works for both sides. So if you give young people the opportunity to come in and spend a day or two, which yes takes effort, always does, but actually it means that you're also able to see some people who you might want to employ,
Yeah.
and might give you a better idea of how
Yeah.
to employ, because that interview is not necessarily the only way of getting people in, and there is a skill shortage, isn't there?
There is, and I think also, you know, I've been at the LTA 3 years. I've been working 10 plus years, so not a lot in some areas, but I've noticed even in our world how quickly things change and how adaptable you have to be. And you know, when I was at the Comic Relief Amazon project the other day, looking at some of the expertise and skills that 18-year-olds have that I will never have, because I've not grown up in a world of kind of the developments around social media and stuff. So yes, I look after social media, but do I know it as well as my social media person knows? No, that's not necessarily my role. But to have these people coming up who are so ingrained and live it and breathe it every day, is they can then speak the language of the people we're trying to target. And you're right, you know, we have programs like Tennis for Kids, which is aging at kind of 4 to 11-year-olds. We haven't even touched the teenage market yet, because that's just a whole nother beast to get into that market and understand why people are potentially moving away from sports and going more into e-gaming, or going into, you know, spending more time on their social channels. How do we eke those out of them to then actually get them back on the court again, or playing tennis or any form of physical activity, is an area as a business we haven't even tackled yet, because we know how difficult it's going to be.
So one of the things we at career colleges, we are really keen, because we see, yes, young people get taught or understand digital from one perspective, but often not from a business perspective. You know, we had that thing around emails on the project, where I would just receive a whole batch of emails with no subject, no content in the email, and it took very little time to actually teach them. But there's also the whole thing around critical thinking, what's right and what's wrong, because digital has happened to all of us. And I think often that it needs employers to be able to say, yes, as a young person, you may understand more than we do about the different channels maybe, or the new channels that are coming up. But the use of it is where the experience that you give, because in the end, that tends not to change. The way, the things that people want to see and how they want to be approached, it's just maybe happens in a different channel, doesn't it?
It does, and I think it's becoming so more personal. So people they don't want a general experience of something. They want something to feel that it is, you know, whether you go onto a website or you receive an email or you go on social media, you want to feel that it's actually being targeted directly at you. Not in a kind of, potentially some areas we've kind of overpassed the kind of boundary in terms of being a bit creepy and knowing too much information about you. But you're right, there's an element of actually, there is a personal element of how we need to work with digital to make it feel personal.
Yes, and a way of communicating, with people. So what would your advice be to a young Bhushita who maybe has not got the confidence necessarily to come forward, but what would your advice be to young people who may want a career or would like to test to see if they'd like a career in this kind of area? What would you...
I suppose there's two things. One is do work experience, do as much of it as you possibly can. You know, I was fortunate enough, I did do a university degree, and I had a year where part of my degree was a sandwich course. I did a year's work experience, and it was invaluable in teaching me a lot of skills that just gave me, you know, able to just work in a business environment, and actually that's a lot of what people want. But I would say be really dogged in your determination about actually getting some work experience, finding the companies that you're interested in. I think it'd be really strange for a company not to offer work experience, especially because there are, you know, when you go into internships and it becomes long, it's a bit more difficult. But when you can come for a couple of days and experience a business, or a week or a couple of weeks, just find someone within the business and target them, and you know, do find that interest and do see how you can support them, and also use your network and use your connections.
Yes.
Because I think, you know, if it wasn't for the kind of project there and you'd cold emailed me, I wouldn't have known who you were. But I think showing passion and commitment as well, and showing that you want to be there, you know, making sure that your emails are addressed correctly and the language is correct,
Very
and
important.
that you have an up-to-date CV, because to me that shows you've already done half of what I need you to do. So that'd be one thing. I think the other thing is, do know what you want to do. You know, the way I see it is, you would never get in a car on a journey and not know where you're going to end up and just kind of go around. You get in a car and you know how long it's going to take you. You've looked up how, you know, any road works or anything along the way, and you can get there in a smooth journey. It might maybe mean leaving a bit earlier or at a different time of the day. But I think it's the same with a job. You wouldn't go into a job not knowing potentially where you want to be in 5 or 10 years' time. So almost do that roadmap, knowing okay, in 10 years' time, I want to be head of a department, or I want to be, in 20 years' time, I want to be a CEO, or, you know, I want to, so what is it that you need to do to get you there? And I'd find those companies that allow you to do that. I think it's a lot easier for more young people to get into work experience. I think once you've got more further
It's
in
not
your
actually that, and lots of companies don't offer it because they think that it's really difficult, and it's not that difficult. And one of the other things one of the things we stress in that project is the amount of investigation they do, because a lot of, you know, this is a generalisation, a lot of young people do not investigate enough. So if I knew, for example, that the judges were going to be the LTA, Amazon and Comic Relief, before I went in I would have Googled all three. And that somehow, I'm not certain that message is getting over to young people about how much information there is, and doing some research. So I think that's really, I think you're absolutely right. There is a lot of research that you can do in order to kind of discover. But work experience is invaluable, and a lot of employers are frightened of what the legal and the ramifications of giving it. And yet it's what most young people want, and it's what most employers are saying. We want people who... So this is really fantastic. So thank you both. I'm really glad that I believe you've got another day.
I do tomorrow.
Yes, we've got a national launch tomorrow. So Bhushita has picked the best 2 days to come and do this year. We've got a national launch in London tomorrow and Manchester. So it's exciting couple of days.
And I know that Lauren and I are going to follow your career with great interest. I know that we are. So thank you both very much for this. Thank you.
Thank you.